Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. There are no traffic jams along the extra mile when you're studying for your bar exam. And now your hosts, Jackson Mummy and Megan Saya from Celebration Bar Review.
Welcome. It is Wednesday, July 13th. We are 13 days until the bar exam. Hi, Megan. How are you doing?
Hi, hanging in there. I think you said earlier, it's the peak. We're hitting the peak right now. It is crazy. But I think for the most part, students are hanging in there and not panicking and doing what they need to do to take care of themselves.
Yeah, and today we've got lots of great questions, study questions from students. And then we're going to wrap up at the end today. Our mindset coach, June, is going to join me for a mindset dialogue. We're going to talk a little bit specifically about mindset and attitude and all the things that start to creep up in the goblins and gremlins that jump into our brains with a couple of weeks to go, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited for you guys to talk about that kind of stuff today. I think a lot of us need it for sure.
Yeah. So June will be joining us later. She's on the chat box. We can see we've got a big group already here. So excited to go in. We've got a lot of things to cover today. So Megan, why don't we go ahead and kick it off and tell us what we got?
All right, Jackson, a couple of big questions on how do we move forward in the next couple of weeks. First off, if you're a photo reader, what does the schedule look like for you in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, so pay attention if you're a photo reader because this is a specific instruction. At this stage, starting today, I want you reading your multi-state book 1 and 2. So that's the 7 subject outlines. I want you photo reading them every night before you go to bed, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights. So the multi-state, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights right before you go to bed. On Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I want you reading your state outline book. So the California book or the Georgia book or the UBE book or the Florida book. And again, photo reading right before you go to bed. The intention is simply to get a better understanding of the material so you can pass the bar exam. Then listen to the memory supercharger paraliminal as you go to bed. That will act to fix that information in your brain to process it and then sleep soundly. And then get up the next day and do your regular studies. But that's the protocol now. Every photo reader should be reading all of your multi-state outlines Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then your state outlines Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're going to give you the night off.
Wonderful. All right. Now for everyone, almost everybody's taking the MBE. What do the next 2 weeks look like for them with their MBE practice?
Yeah, this is also now, we've now crossed the threshold in which we don't want you doing deep dive, just single subject practice. At this point, all of your practice should be multiple subject practice, which means doing the OPE, those are the online practice exams. There are 3 of those, and then doing at least two full-length multi-states, the February 1991 and the December 2021 tests. Those are all in your course materials and they're all outlined in the day 24 email that I sent you. But essentially what we want is all of your practice being multiple subject practice. Now, I will say the one exception to this is federal civil procedure. The only practice questions in full-length tests come from the 2021 exam. So you should make sure you've done all of the I think it's about 200 civil procedure questions in that subject. But other than that, it's all just, and I'm perfectly happy with people doing the OPEs in 100 question chunks, just so that you get the experience of doing a 3-hour at a time sitting. I don't think you need to give up 6 hours at a time to do that 200 question OPE. When it comes to the 2021 exam, again, it's not a real test. It's just one the examiners put together. And therefore, I don't really care if you take it in 6 hours or you break it up a little bit. We don't really know how predictive it is either. So the only test that I really feel like you need to do 3 hours and then a break in 3 hours is the February 91 test. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I don't want you to burn yourself out. So that means that we don't want you to do a bunch of full-length tests. It's also probably not the best use of your study time to dedicate just that much intense study to just that one practice. So that's why, yes, I think it's, especially if your scores are looking pretty good, then take them in smaller chunks. So do what makes sense to keep you fresh and prepared and ready without totally exhausting yourself before exam day. It's like how if you're going to run a marathon, you don't actually run the full 26 point whatever. Sorry, I'm not a marathoner. Those miles before race day, right? I think you run like 20 at the most, right? Before you actually do it. Similar, it's we want to get that practice and that comfort, but you don't need to be doing a whole bunch of full length MBE exams under time conditions where you take like morning, have lunch, afternoon session. It's just a lot and you will burn yourself out before the exam.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Work in smaller chunks.
All right, let's chat. We're going to keep this really brief, but we do want to acknowledge and chat about what's going on with the Florida test and how the expectations for the Florida takers are different than they are for the UBE, California, Georgia takers.
Yeah. So if you're a Florida bar taker by now, that they have announced a different set of standards with respect to constitutional law and with respect to the Florida enactments that happened on July 1st. Megan and I recorded a 1-hour lecture. You'll find it in your Florida online course. And there are 2 handouts, one for Supreme Court decisions, the other for Florida decisions. That 1 hour is the only hour you need to spend on that material. That is, you don't need to do a deep dive. You don't need to read the cases. You don't need to go into more detail. We are confident that what we've covered will give you adequate preparation for those aspects of that exam in Florida. Now, for those of you in California, Georgia, the UBE is written by the National Conference of Bar Examiners, and they announced that they are not testing the decisions of the recent Supreme Court term. So that's an absolute, you don't need to worry. California and Georgia didn't say anything at all, but the assumption has always been that they would not test these recent decisions. And that's the presumption that goes on and has always gone on across the country. Florida basically violated the presumption. So that's why that's happening in Florida. But if you're in California, Georgia, or the UBE, nothing changes. You want to take the test as though the recent Supreme Court term didn't happen. We're in the Wayback Machine for you, and you don't need to worry about that. If you're in Florida, it's a whole different world, obviously.
I want to clarify, Florida didn't say they are going to test those cases, just that they can, they're fair game, and that the students will be required to know the current law as of the moment that they step into the exam room. So that's the key there. Definitely, if you're a Florida student, please check out the 45-minute discussion that we have about what you need to know, and then the short documents that sort of outline everything you're going to need to know. Don't panic about it, please, but we also want you to be prepared and to know. So we worked really hard as soon as this came out on Friday evening. We spent all weekend working on it to make sure that you guys would be able to hit the ground running this Monday and be ready for the new law that is potentially in the exam. And if you are a February taker or later, you will also be responsible for this. But the good news is that it's going to be very easy and quick for us to get you all this information, because we had to do it in a matter of 24 hours for the Florida students. So that's the great news for you. But we will be updating the course after the July takers are set and taking their exam. We'll update the course so that you will have that for anybody who's taking a later exam, and you'll have the up-to-date law.
Yeah, the only other thing I would say, if you're a 2023 bar taker and you're at the point of doing con law in your studies, I would just skip it. Hold on for a couple of weeks. We'll update it, and I think it'll just be easier for you at that point. Just move on to the next subject.
Great. All right, let's bring June into the call now to talk about boot camp. Why should people come to boot camp?
Because it's amazing. Megan and I are huge boot camp fans. We love boot camp, but more so than that, if you are a February student, you have to come, because as Megan says many times, what we can guide you in and teach you in person is 100 times in 2 days what we can do virtual. And it really is an amazing way to interact with your peers, interact with Jackson, Megan, myself, and get that hands-on one-to-one kind of knowledge and skill set that we can't give as much to on a virtual platform. And plus, it's Florida. in October, which is usually beautiful. And the venue where we have it is really cute. And they've got this nice, amazing garden area that I love. And it's just cool.
Awesome. Jackson, what are the details people need to know?
Yeah, October 14th and 15th here in Celebration. You need to pay in full by September 10th, but your deposits are fully refundable. And I'm sure June can put the link in the chat box to place your deposit. I think even a $250 deposit is all it takes, but we're only accepting 15 students into boot camp. We're doing that for a couple of reasons. One, because of COVID and health. But secondly, we've just decided that we can work very effectively in small groups of 5. So we're going to have breakout sessions. And at any given session, 5 people will be with June doing mindset work, and 5 people will be with Megan doing essay work, and 5 people will be with me doing photo reading and mind mapping work. We're going to teach you how to photo read. So if you're a photo reader, we're going to improve your skills. If you're not a photo reader, we'll teach you how to do that. And I would just echo everything that June has said about boot camp. It really is amazing. It takes a tremendous amount of energy on our part to do it, but it is also incredibly exciting. And we do know that the people who show up at boot camp are the people who pass the bar exam. And so honestly, there's just no reason not to do it. Your $2,000 fee will cover everything except your travel and lodging, and we'll take care of your meals. And it's just all right there. And it's a great experience.
Awesome.
And the food's amazing and everything's amazing. And I just want to say, Jackson said, the last boot camp we did, the majority of those students passed. Just saying.
Yep, that's right. All right, awesome. So the last thing I just want to note before June goes is at the end of this talk today, June and Jackson are going to chat about mindset, and we have some great questions already, and they have some things they want to talk about. And real quick, before you go, June, Rachel just asked, is the boot camp for Florida bar takers? So it's for everybody. Yes, we do what we've done in the past. It depends on the mix of who we have there, but we have done some splitting up for the groups based on like where if people are taking UBE, if they're taking Florida, they're taking California, they're taking Georgia. So it depends on what the breakdown is of who we have, but we do tailor, regardless, we tailor the instruction to your test that you're particularly taking. So that's also why it's great that it's a small group, is we're able to do that, that even if I've got, let's say, one California student and a few Florida who all do hour-long essays, I can talk to them together about the strategies with an hour-long essay specifically tailored to them. All right. Great. Thank you, guys. All right, so let's move on now to some study strategy questions. Got great questions this week, which no surprise, everybody's really thinking well about how to finish out strong here, and makes me really happy to see. All right, this first student said, it takes me way too long to get into an essay and start writing. I need to find another way for my brain to get the idea of how to get started, and I think looking at more essay answers will help me get there. Is that a good idea?
Looking at more essays is marginally helpful. Writing more essays is a lot more helpful, don't you think, Megan?
Yeah, definitely. Or what I would actually suggest, especially at this stage where we're 2 weeks away, I would outline your answer. I would outline a ton of answers. So especially if your problem is the getting started piece, I think that you don't, and I don't know if this is a 30-minute jurisdiction, 45 or 60,
30,
but I don't necessarily want to say, oh, let's do like a bunch of all these super long essays. It's more of do the prep work for it. Read the essay through, mark it up, create your outline, your skeleton outline, create your conflict pairs, write out, make notes of where you want to go with it, and try and do that timed over and over again so that you are very comfortable with how to do that. If you are unsure of how to do that, you need to schedule a call with Jackson or with me to talk about that. We can do that. That is what we're here for. This is the stuff that when I say I don't want people to struggle through these things on their own unnecessarily. So if you're sitting here going, I have a problem with getting organized and going on my essays, talk to me, right? This is what I'm here for. I have tools. I want to give those tools to you and help really, I will hold your hand and walk you through step by step exactly how I want you to do it. I know Jackson can do this. All right. Any other thoughts on that, Jackson, of how to get into the essay?
I think it's a great idea to outline.
Okay. All right, next is I'm having a rough time with real property and con law. There has been improvement in my performance, but I'm not reaching the answer percentages I aim for to be ready for the bar exam. I'm guessing 60% is enough to pass the real property section of the MBE. Do you have any tips or general advice on how to improve my score?
60% is a good number, I think, at this stage, a couple of weeks out. So I'm happy with that as a baseline. I think that using selective intuition, the key here is to recognize that at 90 seconds, you either have an answer or you don't. And if you don't, just guess and move on. But at this stage of your study, you can learn from every question you miss because it gives you the opportunity to go in and look at it and figure out why you didn't know it. And then in my mind, that's a win because it's okay, now I know it. I'm not going to miss that again. So I would treat this opportunity of time now as a chance to actually improve your score by the questions you miss. So don't be afraid of missing questions. That's my basic take on it. I think when you get to the mixed practice exams, which tend to be more predictive, you're going to get a better flow of how you're doing overall. And then you want to do a deeper dive, perhaps in one or two subjects based on what you learned from those tests. But really, when you're in a specific subject, just going through and grinding it out and figuring out what you're missing and why is probably the best way to go.
All right, next is I finished the substantive study, so I'm moving through the review portion. To clarify, for the set of 107 MBE questions for each subject, do I answer them with test conditions and review the answers at the end, or is it an answer then read explanation exercise?
If you're doing the single subject review, it would be answer a question and then answer explanation. But as I said earlier, I think you should now be in the mixed question practice. And for those, what's going to happen is that they're designed generally to be you work through all of them and then get the answer explanations. Now you can adjust that if you're working in the PDF. Obviously, you can do a question and then check it. But part of what we want you to be doing now is thinking about your timing. And so doing 100 questions in 3 hours becomes fairly useful, I think. Plus, just getting the flow of the exam.
All right. Next is I've had trouble with focusing on my job, studying, and life in general. I had testing done and was diagnosed with AD. The bar initially agreed to grant me 25% additional time, but changed it to 50% just for this administration. How can I use these accommodations to my benefit, and how can I push the course material without reducing the efficiency with the test date quickly approaching?
There's two different questions there. Certainly on the exam, having the extra time is great. Time and a half, or I guess that's what 50% accommodation would be. My experience has been, particularly for photo readers, you won't need all of that accommodation. You might need it for the essay writing, depending on what your particular disability is. I think that I would still practice under the non-accommodation time frame so that it's going to feel like you've got a lot more time on exam day. I would not spread out your study over those accommodation time frames at this point. In terms of how to accelerate your study, there are a couple of tools that are really helpful. One of those tools is the MBE video nutshells. We talked about those earlier. You can buy those. It's 7 different videos. We compress the MBE subjects into 25 minutes. It's a great way to get through it. The other tool is bar maps. And with bar maps, there's a couple of pieces to that. First of all, there are mind maps that we've already built in for every subject. Secondly, the video lectures are broken into subjects, so you can go and just look at specific parts of the lecture for the things that are most problematic for you. And then third, the entire video lecture soundtrack is compressed into what we call a fast finish audio, which means a 3.5 hour lecture is generally under 2 hours, and you're just listening to the lecture. So that tool is really important to use, I think, as well. I think those are the 2 products that would make the most help to accelerate, don't you?
Wonderful. Yeah. Figuring out where, which it seems like this person has, figuring out what their needs are. And then we really have tried to provide a way to address every need. I think that's really been a guiding principle of this bar review has been, hey, what are the needs, the various needs that students have, and can we provide an optional piece of the program to meet those needs? And yeah, definitely. I'm glad to see that on the whole, I think a lot of people are getting very good at figuring out where their weak spots are. So now let's just get you hooked up with the right tool to pass. That's awesome.
There's plenty of time to use those tools. I think that's the other question that comes up is, do I have enough time? Yeah, the answer is yes, absolutely.
Great. All right. Next is, do you have any recommendations as to how to get through the rest of the subjects in these last couple of weeks in order to get to full-length practice tests?
I think if you're at the point where you have not gotten through all your substantive study, you're going to need to hit the highlights. And that means probably doing the lectures and following along in the reading, or just having photo read, which won't take you long at all. I think that you don't have time to do a lot of practice questions. And so I would just now really focus primarily on the lectures. Again, I think bar maps would be the tool that would get you through those subjects the fastest, but I think that's about all you can do. You've got to be exposed to the subject. There's no way around that.
Yeah, exactly. All right. The last question, and then you and June can have this discussion about mindset, is what's the best way to review your weaker and state-specific subjects? I've been redoing the multiple choice questions and going over essays. Is this the best use of my time? Do you suggest purchasing bar maps for review purposes, as I do not do mind maps? If so, are Florida-specific subjects included in bar maps or just MBE subjects?
Yeah, the bar maps are the best of those products, I think, at this particular point in time. And they do cover everything, state and multi-state, regardless of what state you're in. We have a bar map for every subject in every jurisdiction. So I think that's a good idea. The other thing, of course, is I think that you should be doing mixed question practice rather than single question practice for the MBE. For the essays, I would take a subject and I would just make a list of the subjects and what's easiest and hardest for you, and then start in with your hardest subject and do, several essays in that subject. But again, I think the idea is knocking birds off the wire. It's finding the things that you're having some difficulty with and then doing them. And June, you're on screen here, but I think we would call this the growth mindset approach versus the fixed mindset, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You always want to be in a growth mindset versus a fixed.
Yeah. And I think when you take the growth mindset at this point, you're saying it's okay to miss questions, or it's okay to not have perfect answers because I want to grow from it. The fixed mindset says, oh my God, I got questions wrong. What am I going to do? And you get into this duck and cover drill with 2 weeks to go. And that's the worst place to be, I think.
Yeah, we talked about this a lot last night. With growth, like you said, you miss it and it's not, oh no, it's the end of the world, I just need to postpone. It's, what is my challenge? What is the one thing I really need to understand about this topic or subject or rule of law to really nail it on the exam? That's where you want to be with your thinking versus this, oh no, I can't do it, because you've come too far. You've come too far to blow it up right now. So don't let yourself go there, and really watch your words to yourself, to other people, because they matter. And if you say, oh no, I can't do it, you can't. But if you say, I can do this and I'm going to figure out how to do it, you can. It really is just a shift in words and in language.
June, do you see people going into this victimization mindset at the end where they feel like everybody's ganging up on them and the world's kind of unfair and the test is unfair?
Not as much that. And what I'm seeing is excuses. And what I mean by that is a backup plan or a parachute. And we all make excuses for ourselves. So if what we're trying to achieve doesn't turn out the way we want it, then it lessens the blow. Okay. So we all do it. It's human nature. And my advice is drop the excuses, cut your parachute cord, risk it. I'm serious, go all in, good, bad, ugly, and commit. You have done the work. You've studied your butts off. You are ready. Do not let this little voice inside your brain talk you out of everything you've achieved.
Fear becomes a real big deal. Tomorrow in our video countdown series, I am replaying one of the classic videos called Flying in a Tuxedo. That particular video, the first iteration, has now got 100,000 views or something. But it's about fear, and it's about overcoming your fear at the end. Yeah.
And with fear, here's why we have fear. It's the unknown. We're not sure. Any new thing we do that we've never done before, there's an element of fear. And some people just naturally push through that. Some people are a little more reserved. It's okay wherever you are, but just think about anything you've done in your life. You didn't wake up knowing how to do those things. You learned it. You were taught to do it. I use the analogy of driving a car. If you drive a car at our age, you don't get in your car and go, oh, I have to take this key thing and put it in the ignition. And oh, is D drive or N, or which pedal is gas? You don't even think about it. It is a muscle memory. You just get in and you do it. And that is how we work here in CBR, is creating your studies by repetition for it to become that muscle memory. So you need to just relax. The answers are in your head. You just have to relax and push the fear aside, because you're ready. And it's natural to have fear. If you didn't have fear, I would tell you you're not being challenged enough and you're not on the right path. So a
Well,
little fear is a good gauge that you're
okay,
doing the right thing.
good. I know we got some questions about mindset. You want to grab some of those and we'll kick them around?
Yeah, we do. So these are going to remain anonymous, but just to a couple emails we got. It says, I really need a pep talk. All sorts of negative thoughts are in my head. I graduated 2008 and I was 29. I took and failed the Texas bar 5 times. I'm now 43 years old. It's been 14 years since I graduated. Life has me down. What if I try this again and I fail again? I'm a laughing stock. Everything seems to just keep going wrong. What can I do to shake this feeling of constant failure and self-limiting beliefs?
So, first of all, I would challenge the premise that you're a laughing stock. I think you're a hero. I think having the courage to come back and try this is modeling for your family, your friends, your associates, that you're not prepared to give up. I talked to a woman today who took the bar, I guess, the last time in 1985. She went off and had a life, a career, a family. And she found herself this last month with her father in a courtroom. And she thought, why in the world am I not representing him? Why am I just here with him? And she said, suddenly my why got a lot bigger. I think that if we look back and we say, I am the sum of my failures, then we have missed the point of being in. Teddy Roosevelt called it the man in the arena. It's the one that goes in and they get dirt and mud and all that stuff on their face. And the people on the outside might laugh and say, why would you do that? But the man in the arena is the one to be admired. The person that went out and tried to make this happen is to be admired. You can pass the bar exam. We have had, and we have posted videos with people who took them multiple decades before they passed the exam. And it can be done. This is the most effective bar review in America for helping repeat bar takers, empirically, unquestionably. No one else comes close to what we do. So you're in the right place if you're here with us. You've got a much better chance of passing with us. But even if you don't pass this time, you grow, you learn, you keep at it. And there is no shame and there is no judgment in that. And I think it's important that you recognize that no one is as tough on you as you are on yourself, June. That's where it starts.
Oh, absolutely. We are tougher on ourselves than anybody else could be. But I want to say this, and I actually said this to this person. Other people's opinions do not matter. They just do not. Really, that is where you need to be in your head. There's 2 sayings that I love. And the one is, lions don't worry about the opinions of mice, because they don't have to worry about it. And the other one is Brene Brown. And sorry, I'm going to say a bad word, Jackson. But the quote is, if you're not in the arena getting your ass kicked with me, your opinion does not matter. And that is exactly it. Unless they're here studying side by side with you, it does not matter. Your family, your friends, anybody else, this is you. Nobody else is going into that exam room to take this test with you. Okay, Jackson might be in your head a little bit, but nobody else. You are solo. This is a solo journey, which is why we are here to support you, so it doesn't feel so isolating. But you take that bar exam. And if this is your calling, this is your passion, this is your why, do not fail yourself in completing it. And it really is that way. The opinion of others, you're not a laughing stock.
Yeah.
I'm with Jackson. I applaud you of recognizing what you need for yourself and coming back and making it happen. And just stay the course and you will get it. You will get it.
And I did a video called The Hero's Journey. It's built on Joseph Campbell's 12 Steps of the Hero. And the first part of it takes it up through the exam. Second part of the hero's journey will release the day after the exam for you. But it is a very useful way of thinking about this process and about the heroic nature, because I think you are a hero, to sit for the exam. Don't give up. Your why is big. You obviously want to do this. And I think that if you can see yourself as a hero and not a failure, not a laughing stock, it changes everything about how you go at this. So thanks for being honest enough and vulnerable enough to put that out there. To go back to Brene Brown, she talks all the time about how it's the things we keep inside. That's the shameful thing.
Yeah.
And we put them out there and suddenly they lose their power, don't they, when we verbalize them?
We jerk.
Yeah. The gratitude journal is going on right now, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the other thing I wanted to mention is Stein Jackson 1,000 times tried to create a light bulb. If he quit, it probably would have been long time before we ever had a light bulb. 1001, he successfully created it. So it's just, don't give up. You keep going and you do it a little different. You recalibrate. That's my favorite word right now, is you don't give up. You just recalibrate and begin again.
Wisdom, folks.
Second question. I am highly overwhelmed and cannot shake the feeling no matter how much I've tried. I think I need to reassess my plan because I do not feel I'm prepared to go into the exam with confidence. I'm unsure what to do. Oh, please let me get into this one. Do not talk yourself out of this exam. Do whatever you can. You are ready. You are ready. The ego is talking right now, and the ego protects you from something that might hurt you. And in your past, it's been a friend. Right now, it's a foe. So when that voice pops up, you tell that voice with gratitude, thank you. Thank you for being here, for supporting me when I needed you, but I do not need you anymore. I got this. And the voice will go away. It's magic. Do not let it win. Okay? Do not let these late night, midnight, 1 a.m. voices that come to us that tell you you're not ready, that you're not good enough 2 weeks before the exam. And it happens to everybody. You're not alone. Do not listen to them. Ignore them.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and I want to give a practical advice, which is that we've got a paraliminal pack
Yes.
of that are so valuable. You put these on, you listen to them while you're asleep or just during the day. They run 20 to 30 minutes in length and they're done on different topics, but they include things like power thinking and focus and concentration and anxiety control and belief. And they are the things that are the antidotes, right, that help you do what June was just describing. If you're struggling with that self-talk, it is very valuable to put on a paraliminal, let the recording work. And one part of that recording is talking to your conscious brain, but the most important part is talking to your non-conscious, and it's actually reprogramming your non-conscious so that if you've got that negative self-talk, it's giving you a new positive self-talk. And people would say, oh, I don't know. I don't think that makes a difference. It makes a difference.
It does. It's all in the words we use. We talked about this last night, how I'm studying, I get a question wrong, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. I suck. See my energy just bottom out. Where if I don't get the question and I go, what do I need to figure out here? Okay, let me dig in. Notice how even my body comes up, my energy's different words. When you have those words, in a second, you can change the words. Yes, talk to yourself. I'm giving you permission to talk to yourself because it helps. And only you will hear the language you use. We all use a different type of language and different words. So change it. And it's that one little thing in your words that will bring your energy level up or down, bring your confidence up or down. And again, I posted it last night in the group. The key to passing is believing you will. Not I hope, I dream, I really want to do that. It's I will. Believe in you. Okay. And if it gets super, super bad, I have just like that many spots, 4 calls in 2 weeks. Come have some one-to-one coaching with me. We will get you on track. Do not quit. You have come too far. All right, Jackson.
Let me just say that next week we're going to talk about this final push. We're going to talk about heroes and superheroes and why you're a superhero and what it takes to, where it takes to get across no man's land. Some of the most, I think probably the most enduring videos that I've done might be around Wonder Woman and some of these others that are coming up in the next week. So if you're in the July 22 exam, watch the videos that come up. This next week, we saved the best for last, at least in my opinion, and I think you're going to want to check those out. They're really built more about mindset than about learning another rule, because at this point, you don't need to learn another rule. What you really need to do is to get outside of yourself, get out of your head and get into your head in a good way, and really bring to bear all these things. I think one of the things that makes Celebration Bar Review so very different, and I don't know any bar review anywhere that talks about mindset, that makes it an important component of what you do. And yet it is the thing that time after time is the block. And so when people spend time with June, the blocks go away. When they spend time with Megan on the writing, the blocks go away. When they spend time with Brianna, the blocks go away. And you can make this difference. For those of you that think that 2 weeks is not enough time to change the course of the direction of your course, the direction of your result, I am here to tell you, every exam, June, we see it, don't we?
Weeks is a lifetime right now. And
Yeah.
you have plenty of time. And I 100% agree with Jackson. I say it every session. 80% of this, in my opinion, 80% of passing is your mindset and confidence. 20% is you have the skill. You've gone through the course with CBR. You've had Jackson, you've had Megan. You have the knowledge you need. So now you just gotta be confident and comfortable enough to allow it to flow and quit trying to control the outcome. You know, Jackson and I, the past few weeks, have talked a lot about the process. And people who believe in the process believe that the goal, the ultimate goal, will come. But your magic is in the moment of the process, not looking at the actual goal or the end game. So even these next 2 weeks, when you're doing the quizzes, when you're doing the reviews, be in this moment with that right now, knowing that it's going to lead you to where you need to go. And that really will help with the anxiety and feeling overwhelmed. And the last thing I want to say, Jackson, is please don't burn yourself out. You need stamina on exam day for 2 days. Please give yourself some rest breaks. Do something special for yourself. I am a big fan of self-care. I don't care if it's a bubble bath or a Netflix movie or a hot shower or ice cream cone or dinner out. Do something for yourself. It doesn't mean take 3 nights off. It means take a moment. Take a couple hours, go for a walk in the park, play with the kids, whatever it is to you. Ask yourself, what do I need? And it will refill you so that you have the stamina to keep going. Most of us have been doing this for a few months now, and you have to have these little breaks, self-care, to continue the momentum. So that's my last thing.
Great. Thank you, June. It's great to have you here. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you all for being here. Have a good study week. Great weekend. Stay in touch with us. We will see you all next Wednesday as we wrap it all up. And we're almost there. So hang in, keep going, power on, and we will see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening and watching the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers at celebrationbarreview.com.